of flowers as token of our gratitude. Flowers may fade away, but books are forever. Keeping in Garuda's tradition, they would also like to present selected books to our esteemed guests.
Books last, sir. And this is one of my latest books, A History of Hinduism.
Oh, let me write it here.
May I now request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly release the book.
Sir.
May we also request them to launch the Garuda's Marketplace.
Giving platform to Goshalas and handicaps and these kind of products.
Then where is it?
Sir, we are based in Gurgaon and it's almost ready and we will launch it after the time.
Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
May I now request the author to give us a presentation about the book.
Shift the screen a bit. Kadejit, just shift the screen to the right and move that quickly. Yeah. Bye. Thank you. Sir, with your permission.
Yeah,
May I
please,
start?
please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today for the release of the book Indian Strategic Culture, the Mahabharatan and Kautilyan Way of War. And as the compere said, Dr. Purnima Bakshi Kanwar said, Kautilya was not a theorist. He was a practitioner of the art and science of national security. And therefore, we could not have had a more eminent and qualified chief guest than Shri Ajit Doval himself a practitioner of the art and science of national security for the past decade and well before that as the head of India's Intelligence Bureau. We could not have asked for a more qualified person to preside over this book launch than him, and I'm extremely grateful to you, sir. You've been so kind as always to grace the occasion, take time out of your very busy and taxing schedule. Next. Next. Sir, some 2 decades back, a series of Western scholars like George Stanham, Stephen Peter Rosen had come to India to study India's strategic culture. After much research and inquiry, they concluded very sadly that India has no strategic culture, no tradition of focused strategic military thought and analysis, and they blamed especially the Hindu and the Buddhist part of our history for this lack of a strategic culture. Then we had Stephen Peter Rosen and his very famous book, Societies and Military Power, India and His Armies. And he said that there is no primordial strategic military culture in India, and he too concluded that India lacked a tradition of strategic thinking. He concluded that the size of the Indian armies mentioned in the Mahabharata, mentioned in the Arthashastra, mentioned by Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador, was a fiction of the imagination. It was unrealistic. And he quoted Martin van Creveld to state that given the state of land communication, command and control means logistical infrastructure, you couldn't, mass such large-sized armies in those periods. But the same gentleman very conveniently told to us, informed us that the Roman legions, when they fought the major battle, they were about 240,000 strong. From a population base that was much larger than that of the Indo-Gangetic plain. So we have always noticed this very seminal bias against Hindu India and Buddhist India in particular, and feeling that there is a total lack of strategic culture or focused, cohesive military thinking. So what exactly is a strategic culture? What are we talking about when we say strategic culture? Kerry Longhurst, a well-known American author, he defines strategic culture as a distinctive body of beliefs, attitudes, and practices regarding the use of force. The most salient part of this definition is a strategic culture is persistent over time, and it tends to outlast the era of its inception. That is critical. It has to have a tradition of focused strategic thought going over the millennia. It's not short-term affair. Next. The simple fact of the matter is, unfortunately, the colonial thinking, colonial historiography has so severely distorted the perception about India and its past that we are still facing that problem. And the problem faced by George Tanham and Stephen Rosencrantz was that they relied on colonial historiography to analyze the past and present of India. And quite obviously, that is the place where you go wrong from the very outset. Colonial historiography was rather focused on the immediate past of the ahimsa, non-violence based struggle, so-called, for India's freedom. I'm afraid some historians, Indian historians, beg to differ. 26,000 men of the Indian National Army laid down their lives to make India free. And to call such a struggle, sir, is an insult to those martyrs and their families. Right? But that has clouded thinking about India as a Pacific country, neo-Buddhistic in its approach, ahimsa, spinning the wheel, etc. I'm afraid the truth is otherwise. The Vedas mention war, and I'll tell you how. And major wars, please. Ramayana is about a war. The invasion of Sri Lanka by the kingdoms of the north, by locally assembled tribal armed forces. It is about a war. The Mahabharata is about a major Armageddon that ends an age, a kind of an apocalypse that ends the age and commences a new one. It's about war. So let's get back and start right from the Vedas itself. In the Vedas, colonial historiography has once again created a beautiful fiction. The Aryans were invaders who came from Central Asia. Hinduism is a foreign plant on the Indian soil. The Vedas came from outside. And they fought with the Dravidians. The Dasyus are translated into dark-skinned Dravidians. And how the whites pushed out the blacks, so-called, all the way down south from the Vindhyas, across the Vindhyas, into the triangle of the Dravid land, which is the junction of three seas. No Tamil literature includes any story of such a migration. Had such a migration of thousands of miles taken place, they would have carried the place names with them, the river names with them. Nothing of that sort. There is no proof. The actual fighting in the Vedic period was between the Indo-Aryans and the Indo-Iranians. Right? Indo-Aryans and the Indo-Iranians. The Indo-Iranians were called Dasas. in Iranian, in Persian, you don't pronounce the S, you pronounce it as H. When we say Soma, they say Homa. When we say Dasa, they say Daha. Daha. Right? And when we say Asur, they say Ahur. Ahur Mazda. In Iranian, Parsi lore, Ahur Mazda, Ahura Mazda, he is the enemy of Indra and Manu. Manu is Manu. So the basic warfare was not between the Aryans and the Dravidians, but the basic warfare was between the Aryan tribes themselves. Why did they fight? They fought over ideological reason, how to worship the fire. The Zoroastrians said fire is sacred. You pollute the fire if you put any offerings into the fire of milk, ghee, whatever, samidha, whatever. You pollute the fire. And they were very annoyed with the Indo-Aryans, and those tribes were called the Deva tribes. These are the Asura and the Danava tribes. They were very angry as to why are you polluting the sacred fire. And therefore there was an ideological conflict. The second basis of this conflict in the Vedic age was the use of the psychotropic plant called Soma, which gave you ecstasy, which gave you creativity, which helped you to overcome all fear on the battlefield. It helped you to overcome all fear on the battlefield. Amazing psychotropic plant. And this was said to be the growth area of this plant was in the headwaters of the Satluj and the Bias. Right? This is the area of what would call the foothills of Jammu, the foothills of Himachal Pradesh. Right? And this was the area of contestation that they fought over. Bitterly. It was bitterly fought over. The first major war in the Vedas is mentioned as the Dwadash Rajan Yuddha, the war of the 20 kings. Devadas, the ruler of Madhya Desh. There are very strange parallels between Chinese and Indian history. Madhya Desh, they call it Middle Kingdom. The ruler of Madhya Desh, that is the Saraswati in the tract, Devadas, he was the main protector of the Aryan faith, the Indo-Aryan faith of Stoma, of Havan. And that was the ideological conflict with the Asuras, the Ahuras. And incidentally, the people of Iran are still called Dahas. Dasas, corruption of Daha, right? So he invaded the Soma growing lands to capture them because Soma was being overused. Everybody wanted Soma. That was the basis of both the religious, the Indo-Iranian and the Indo-Aryan religions. So they fought over this area. There were supposed to be 100 fort cities that the Dasas had built in the lower Himalayan foothill. And we all know how rugged that terrain is. And Indra helped Devadas conquer, demolish 100 fort cities. And that is why he was called Purandara, the destroyer of forts, right? And he captured that. He drove the Indo-Iranians, the so-called Dasas and the Danavas out of India. The Dasas went to Iran, settled down there. The Danavas, incidentally, their mother goddess is Danu, right? And everywhere they went, as they migrated out of India, they named their river after their mother goddess Danu, Don, Danube, Dniester, Donets. These are all rivers named after that mother goddess. And incidentally, sir, the mother goddess in Ireland is still called Danu. That just shows it is not an Aryan invasion into India, but the out of India theory is now gained total dominance in as far as the field of historiography is concerned. The second war that takes place in the Vedic era is the Dasha Rajan Yuddha, the war of the 10 kings. And this is the time when his grandson Sudas, Devadas' grandson, he was again attacked. And once again the Indo-Iranian tribes, the Dasas, combined with some Danavas and the Paktiyas. Incidentally, sir, the Paktiyas are the Pashtuns. The major battle took place near Harirupia, which is now Harappa. The major battle took place there, and he used, they dammed up a river, then they broke the dam to wash away these armies and cause them huge casualties. The casualty figures mentioned in this Vedic war are 60,000 to 1 lakh. And we are talking of that era, that population base, and look at the ferocity of the conflict that took place. Next, please. Now, there are two, schools of war in ancient India that has come down as our inheritance. There is the Mahabharatan school of the direct approach, the approach of attrition warfare, right? And this was called Dharma Yuddha. There is the Kautilyan approach, you see, which is the exact opposite, which is the indirect approach in terms of B.H. Littlehart's theory, indirect approach strategy, the indirect approach, and that was called Kut Yuddha. Kuta, Kut Yuddha, Kutil Buddhi, that's where it comes from, you see. And what was the basic difference? The sources of the Dharma Yuddha were the Sadashiv, Dhanurveda, Bhishma school of war in the Bhishma Parv of the Mahabharata, right? And it was based on force on force. Armies get together in a flat plain and they throw hurl one against the other till the other side is destroyed. No maneuver, no nothing, face on face, charge and destroy one another.
All right, we'll come back to this when the NSA Ajit Doval speaks. This is the Indian Strategic Culture book launch of General J.D. Bakshi happening in the national capital. We'll go across and get you some breaking news now coming in from the state of Karnataka. This is a big breaking news update, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just about Karnataka, it's a national story. It's a national story of how the Waqf emergency has hit India. In Karnataka alone, there is a case of nearly 15,000 acres. 15,000 acres that is being snatched by farmers. And the Congress government in Karnataka is going all out to support the Waqf and snatch this land away. We have documents that shows how the Tehsildar district officials directly involved in the battle with the farmers, asking farmers to prove that they owned the land in Vijaypura. This is in Karnataka. 15,000 acres. Imagine this, 15,000 acres in one district alone. There are many farmers who are speaking out. There are different petitions being signed asking for this madness, the Waqf emergency and the Waqf madness to stop. Listen into some of the responses we've been getting. I also have Mahesh joining us live from Karnataka. I'll go across to Shavan. Shavan, my colleague, will also be joining us live from the newsroom. I'll go across to him, but Mahesh is also joining us live right now. Mahesh, are you there? Okay, I'm trying to see if Mahesh is live. Mahesh, MG Mahesh is joining us live. He's a senior spokesperson of the BJP. Can you hear me, Mr. Mahesh?
Yes, sir.
What is going on? 15,000 acres in one area alone. And the Congress government is asking the district administration to snatch the land.
Yeah, after the visiting of the Jamir Ahmad, he gave an instruction and instigated the local administration to issue the notice of the Dalit land. The Karnataka became the shelter and heaven government of the Karnataka Congress government. They have given a full support to the radicals. Perhaps in the last 1.5 years, the Congress government in the Karnataka is the most soft towards the minorities and their appeasement politics. So here is once again the Congress, they are doing all sort of to just for the sake of the election, they influence some of the constituency like Shigami and other place of the Muslims. They want to give a more concentration on the part of it. They just give a notice to the Hindus related on
but can I ask you, Mr. Mahesh, can I ask you something? Here, can the Congress government intervene and ask the Tehsildar and the DC and all the district officials to take the land and ensure that it's given to the Waqf? Is that when the Congress government ministers themselves are doing this?
Yeah, of course.
What is the message that is going out?
Yeah, they are deliberately doing this. See, the word of the Jamir Ahmad, wherever he goes, wherever he took the officials meeting, he directly gave an instruction to them to see the work property should come back. They have not gone through the, see, there is a work, so many properties have been misused by this, their own Muslims. Even the Anwar Manpadi report is there. They have not taken that report and they have not even looked at that report also. They even only their intention to concentrate on the Hindus on the part of this Waqf property.
Okay, I have two sound bites that are coming in. One is of the minister himself. The minister in question, his name is Zamir Ahmed. He's a Congress minister. He's a minority face of the Congress in Karnataka. And he has been heard on record saying, I don't care if it's farmland, I don't care if it's the land belonging to farmers. If it belongs to the Waqf, it belongs to the Waqf. It will have to be transferred. Believe it or not, that is the official statement on record. If you are a minister, will you fight for farmers or will you fight for Waqf? Will you fight for those who are annadatas? Will you fight for annadatas or will you fight for Waqf? Will you fight for those who are downtrodden? In this case, the farmers, or will you fight for the Waqf? It appears that the state government is putting its weight behind the Waqf board listening to this.
Hello. The most ridiculous thing is the minister, MB Patil, is the in-charge minister and he is a part of the entire political arena in that area. He is not spoke about a single word of it. The whole, of course, only the leader he is through the against the whole issue is Mr. Basaraj Patil, Yatnal and C.T. Ravi. Till the date, no congressmen, no other leaders, they are coming to rescue for the Hindus. They are deliberately made this attempt to just to appease the Muslims. Nothing more on that.
Yeah. I want to play out the sound bites. Can I please play out the sound bites? Some of these farmers have petitioned Tejasvi Surya, the parliamentarian, because Tejasvi Surya is also part of the Waqf committee, if I'm not wrong. And that's why they've petitioned him. I want to play out that sound bite. And then we also have the sound bite of this Zamir Ahmed, this character who has gone on record and said, I don't care if it's farmers' land, snatch it, take it, attach it to the Waqf. Take a look. Shravan is also joining me live. Shravan, while I pull up that soundbite, it tells you that perhaps the Congress governments, especially the Congress governments, Shravan, in a hurry, the manner in which they have, there's a date as well. We have 3 orders. There's a date. And on these orders, the tehsildars are asking them to fast track it, to come immediately. They've given them a deadline. It appears that before the bill comes into place, the aim is to take as much as you can from the farmers.
Well, in fact, it does appear that in the last few days itself, between 7th and 8th of October, you've had the same minister that you were basically referring to who's made a visit to that very area to basically review what they were calling the progress of the work of property management. In fact, this comes across as a complete threat, given the fact that you're essentially indicating that it does not really matter whether it belongs to the farmers or not, but he goes on to basically indicate that the work would be completed within a span of just 30 days. And this, they've already declared, is a Waqf property. They're not even going to look into the claims that have essentially been made by the farmers. We're talking about 15,000 acres that is in question. And the Congress government has essentially come to some sort of a conclusion in this entire point.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know whether I have the soundbite right now. If I have the soundbite, I'd like to play it out. Otherwise, I'm going to take a break right now. Thank you, MG Mahesh. Thank you, BJP spokesperson MG Mahesh, joining us live from Bengaluru there. It's a big story. We'll take a short break. Shravan, stay with me. We'll take a break and we'll come back. Stay tuned.
Now notice our palms are sweating, knees weak, arms are heavy. Vomit on my sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
And I think it's important to use your voice. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote, please. I also think that people shouldn't be afraid to express their opinions. And I don't think anyone wants an America where people are worried about retribution or what people will do if you make your opinion known. I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
gotta say, I have done a lot of rallies, so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
And I think it's important to use your voice. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote, please. I also think that people shouldn't be afraid to express their opinions. And I don't think anyone wants an America where people are worried about retribution or what people will do if you make your opinion known. I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
I gotta say, I have done a lot of rallies, so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
carried out near Gulmarg in which an army vehicle was ambushed.
Pakistani terrorists can't face the brave hearts of Indian Army and our police jawans face to face, and in present time, in future, we will deal with such conspiracies with heavy hands.
We have seen this is a fourth terror attack in the Kashmir Valley. We have been told that they were traveling back towards the Gulmarg when the terrorists came and started the
A lower court in Varanasi has rejected full survey of Gyanvapi. Hindu side will now move High Court.
बेगुनाह मारे जाते हैं और हम पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा बनने वाले नहीं हैं। तो ये कर किस लिए रहे हैं?
Amidst spate of terror attacks in the valley, Farooq Abdullah says Kashmir will not become Pakistan. Army sources indicate that both sides will complete the LSA disengagement by 28th or 29th of October. "20 flight received fresh bomb threats, taking the number of hoax threats in the last 11 days to over 250. Well, farmers in Karnataka have alleged a big conspiracy to overnight register their land in Waqf board ahead of the Waqf Amendment Bill. In fact, there are direct allegations that have been levelled against senior Congress leaders in the state of Karnataka. In fact, this comes at a time when allegations have been levelled by the farmers that there have been attempts that have been made to take away their land, roughly about 1,500 acres of ancestral land in Vijaypura's Onwara village. They've accused the Waqf board of wrongfully marking their land as Waqf property, which has essentially led to protests as well as political backlash. We're talking about 10,000 acres already being usurped in one district alone ahead of the bill. Now, let's also tell you about the political connections that are essentially emerging right now. Allegations that have been levelled by the Bharatiya Janata Party against senior Congress leaders. First, let's take you through the allegations that have been levelled so far. And we'll also then go across to my colleague and our executive editor Niranjan joining us, getting us more details. One with regards to the Congress leader in question. The BJP has made a direct allegation of the involvement of a Congress leader and the fact that this has been done overnight.
Shravan, I can't hear your question. I couldn't hear your full question, but I'll tell you all the details that I know about this story. In October, and I have 3 documents with me right now, Shravan, and the documents are available with us. At least 3 case studies where farmers in Vijaypura, in other surrounding districts of Vijaypura and northern parts of Karnataka were given a notice by the Tehsildar, by government officials, saying that their farmlands will be attached to the Waqf board if they don't produce documents to prove that they own the farmlands. So can you imagine, around Vijaypura district, this is just one case where there is an absolute Waqf madness, Waqf emergency, where 15,000 acres, Shravan, 15,000 acres is a huge parcel of land, and we are hearing that 15,000 acres of land has been notified to be attached to the Waqf in one district alone. Now this is madness because farmers are panicking, and you have farmers going on record and saying that they've been farming there for years and years and generations together, and all of a sudden one fine day they get a notice, and we have a translation. For example, I'll tell you, there are 3 case studies, Shravan. In just one case study in Vijaypura district, a farmer owns 4 acres of land. He's given a notice on the 5th of October. And he's told that this land is Khabristan, and an ex parte order will be processed in favor of Waqf board if the farmer fails to provide proof. So similarly, this is one farmer I told you, just about 4 acres, 15,000 acres. And all of this before the Waqf bill is brought in. And the most shocking part, the Congress government in Karnataka has put its weight behind the district officials and administration to say that they have to attach the land to the Waqf. So imagine this situation. As a state government, as a minister, will you be fighting for the farmer, or will you be fighting for the Waqf board? you have a soundbite with you where the minister is saying, I don't care if it's farmer, I don't care if it's farmland, you have to attach your land to the Waqf board if it belongs to the Waqf board. I mean, this is a crazy situation.
Well, in fact,
take a look at this,
Niranjan,
listen into this.
Well, in fact, Niranjan, that very statement that you're referring to of the Congress leader, who also happens to be a close aide of the chief minister and is considered to be an influential minister in Siddaramaiah cabinet, listen to what he had to say.
ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ತಾನೇ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದು, ಸುಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ? ರೈತರ ಜಮೀನು ಇರಲಿ, ಯಾವನ ಇರಲಿ, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇರಲಿ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಬಾಸು, ಯಾರನ ಇರಲಿ, ರೈತರಿರಲಿ, ಯಾರನ ಇರಲಿ, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇರಲಿ, ಈಗ ವಫಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದು ಗೆಜೆಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಅಂತ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ತಾನೆ. ಇದು ವಫಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರ್ದು? ಲೀಗಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಫೈಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾರನ ಇರಲಿ, ಯಾರನ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಸ್ತಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ, ಎನಿಬಡಿ ಬಾಸ್, ನಾನು ಹೇಳೋದು ಲೀಗಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ ವಫಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ವಫಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಂತ ಬೇರೆ
farmers from Bijapura district met me and handed over voluminous documents concerning their properties, their farmlands, which now the Waqf is claiming to be its own. The farmers have been cultivating this land over 4 to 5 generations, starting from 1920s, 1930s, whether it is in the Pani, whether it is in the mutation register, and whether it is in all revenue records. The names of the farmers and their families are mentioned. However, over the last few months, the Waqf board in Karnataka has